the most sacred emanation, a metaphysical analysis of Al-Fayd al-Aqdas. Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Sufi Essence with Hamid Said. The human intellect, in its perennial quest to reconcile the transcendent oneness of the divine with the manifest multiplicity of creation, has articulated some of the most profound and intricate metaphysical systems in history. Within the domain of Islamic spirituality and philosophy, a central pillar of this endeavor is the doctrine of Al-Fayd al-Aqdas, the most sacred emanation. This concept is not merely a theological postulate. It is a cosmological principle that endeavors to explain the very genesis of creation from the perspective of divine consciousness and self-disclosure. It represents the primordial, uncreated moment of God's self-awareness, the initial act of emanation from which all subsequent reality proceeds. Today, our discourse will transcend conventional theological boundaries to engage with the theoretical and ontological significance of this foundational concept. We will embark on a rigorous intellectual journey. First, by establishing the theological framework for the idea of emanation in Islamic thought, distinguishing between the two fundamental stages of divine manifestation. Our primary focus will be on the first stage, Al-Fayd al-Aqdas, as conceptualized by the towering figures of Sufi and Islamic philosophy. We will analyze the intricate metaphysics of Ibn Arabi, exploring how this emanation gives rise to the fixed archetypes, Ayan Thabita, and the Muhammadan reality, Al-Haqiqa, al-Muhammadiyya. We will then broaden our inquiry to incorporate the unique insights of Mulla Sadra, whose transcendent theosophy provides a dynamic interpretation of emanation, and Shah Waliullah, who harmonizes these philosophical concepts with the tradition of prophetic revelation. The core objective of this lecture is to elucidate how al-Aqdas serves as the bridge between the absolute hiddenness of the divine essence and the apparent existence of the cosmos, revealing the entire universe as a continuous stream of divine consciousness. Part 1. The theological and ontological framework of divine emanation. The Quranic narrative of creation is rooted in the divine command, be, and it is kun fayakun. This powerful phrase, however, invites deeper philosophical inquiry into the nature of the how. How does the absolute, singular, and transcendent divine will manifest into a world of diverse, contingent, and temporal phenomena? Islamic philosophers and mystics have grappled with this question by developing the doctrine of emanation fade, which posits a continuous, non-coercive flow of being from the creator to creation. This doctrine reconciles the absolute transcendence of Allah, the idea that he is beyond all created forms with his immanence, the idea that he is present within all things. Central to this doctrine is the distinction between the divine essence al-Dat and the divine names and attributes, al-Azma wa al-Sifat. The divine essence is the absolute unconditioned reality beyond all description and comprehension. It is the hidden treasure Kanzan Makfiyan of the famous Hadith Qudsi, which states, "I was a hidden treasure, and I loved to be known. So I created the creation so that I would be known." This yearning for self-disclosure is the primordial impetus for creation. The divine names and attributes such as the all-merciful Al-Rahman, the all-powerful Al-Qadir, and the all-wise Al-Hakim are the channels through which this self-disclosure occurs. They are the means by which the hidden essence becomes manifest. The process of emanation, according to the great Sufi masters, is divided into two principal stages. The first and most profound is Al-Fayd al-Aqdas, the most sacred emanation. This is the initial self-disclosure of the divine to himself, in himself. It is not an act directed toward an external reality, for at this stage, no external reality exists. It is the divine contemplation of his own names and attributes in the state of utter inwardness. Betan. This act of contemplation gives rise to the Ahan Thabita, fixed archetypes, or immutable essences, which are the eternal, uncreated realities of all things, subsisting in the divine knowledge as pure potentiality. They are the blueprints of every conceivable entity, from the first intellect to the last atom, and they are eternally established within the divine presence, yet they possess no external existence. The second stage is Al-Fayd al-Muqaddas, the sacred emanation. This is the manifestation of the fixed archetypes from the state of potentiality into the state of actuality. bringing them into external existence. It is the bestowal of existence wujud upon the non-existent essences, causing the external world to come into being. If Al-Fayd al-Aqdas is the divine thought or idea, then Al-Fayd al-Muqaddas is the utterance of that idea into reality. The former is the realm of pure potentiality, while the latter is the realm of concrete manifestation. Understanding this crucial distinction is the key to unlocking the sophisticated metaphysics of Islamic thought, for it allows for a nuanced view of creation that preserves the divine unity while accounting for cosmic multiplicity. Part 2. The Most Sacred Emanation in the Metaphysics of Ibn Arabi. The most comprehensive and influential articulation of Al-Fayd al-Aqdas is found in the works of Sheikh Lakbar Muhyiddin Ibn Arabi, d. 1240 CE. For Ibn Arabi, the concept is inextricably linked to his doctrine of Wahdat, al-Wujud, the oneness of being. This doctrine, often misunderstood, does not mean that the world is God, but that there is only one true existence, and all other existence is a contingent reflection or manifestation of that one existence. The universe is not a separate entity from God. It is the outward form of a single all-encompassing reality, the divine reality. In this framework, Al-Fayd al-Aqdas is the primordial, eternal self-disclosure of the divine essence. It is the first theophany tajalli, in which the divine reality contemplates itself in the form of its own names and attributes. This contemplation gives rise to the ahantha bita. These archetypes are not created things. They're the fixed forms of all possibilities eternally present in the divine knowledge. They are the essential nature of all things, from the smallest particle to the greatest celestial body, and they are what determine the preparedness istidad of each entity to receive existence. For example, the archetype of a rose eternally exists in the divine knowledge, and it is this archetype that determines what a physical rose can be, its color, its scent, and its life cycle. A pivotal concept within this emanative process is al-Haqiqa al-Muhammadiyya, the Muhammadan reality. For Ibn Arabi, this is the first and most perfect of the fixed archetypes, the universal intellect and the primordial spirit. It is the perfect ismus barzak between the divine and creation, serving as the locus for the manifestation of all the other divine names. The Muhammadan reality is the mirror in which God first saw himself in a form outside of himself. It is the spiritual origin of all things and the reason for creation itself. Al-Fayd al-Aqdas, therefore, is the very act of manifesting the Muhammadan reality as the perfect, comprehensive archetype from which all other archetypes derive. In this sense, the spiritual origin of the universe is the light of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his reality is the key to understanding the entirety of creation. Following this first inward emanation of potentiality is Al-Fayd al-Muqaddas. This second emanation is the act of giving external existence, wujud khariji, to the fixed archetypes. It is the process by which the divine names, through the medium of the Muhammadan reality, bestow being upon the previously non-existent entities, each according to its own determined preparedness. The external world, therefore, is nothing but the manifestation of the fixed archetypes, which are the eternal knowledge of God. Every existent thing is a unique divine word kalima, or a theophany, tajalli, of a divine name. The physical universe is not a separate reality, but a continuous, dynamic reflection of the divine consciousness. Part 3. Philosophical refinements in the schools of Mulla Sadra and Shah Waliullah. While Ibn Arabi provides the seminal framework, later thinkers enriched and refined the doctrine of divine emanation. Sadr al-Din al-Shirazi, known as Mulla Sadra d. 1640 CE, master of transcendent theosophy, al-Hikmah, al-Mutalaya, synthesized the intellectual heritage of Ibn Arabi with peripatetic philosophy and illuminationist thought. His primary contribution to this discussion is his doctrine of the principality of existence, al-Wujud. In substantial motion, al-Harakat al-Johariya. For Mulla Sadra, existence, wujud is not a concept added to an essence. Rather, existence is the primary reality, and essences mahayat are merely intellectual constructs of the mind. He argues that there is only one existence, which is the existence of God. This single existence, however, manifests itself in various degrees of intensity. All of creation is a continuum of being, a single reality that flows from the pure, absolute existence of the divine, Al-Fayd al-Aqdas, in Sadra's view, can be understood as the first, most intense manifestation of this existence, where all essences are latent within the divine consciousness. Al-Fayd al-Muqaddas is the continuous flow of this existence into the external world in varying degrees of intensity, from the most subtle to the most dense. This process is not a static one, but a dynamic, constant renewal. Mulla Sadra's concept of substantial motion further dynamizes this idea. He argues that change is not limited to the accidents of a substance, but is inherent in the very substance of a thing. The entire universe is in a state of perpetual, transformative motion, evolving from a lower degree of existence to a higher one, all guided by the divine emanation. This means that creation is not a completed event, but an ongoing, moment-to-moment process of renewal, where every instant is a new act of divine creation. This view provides a powerful philosophical underpinning for the Sufi concept of new creation at every instant, Khalq Jadid Fi'al, Anna. Shah Waliullah of Delhi d. 1762 CE provides a harmonizing perspective, bridging the gap between philosophical abstraction and prophetic tradition. Explains the cosmos in terms of different planes of existence. He introduces the concept of al-Muhammadiyya, the world of similitudes or images, an intermediate realm between the unseen spiritual world and the physical world. For Shah Waliullah, the process of emanation from the hidden divine essence to the physical world passes through this intermediate realm. Al-Fayd al-Aqdas is the initial act of divine emanation that gives rise to the archetypes in the higher spiritual planes, and these archetypes then manifest as forms in al-Alam al-Mathal before they appear in the physical world. Shah Waliullah's interpretation is particularly significant because it grounds these abstract metaphysical ideas in a more accessible, albeit still profound framework. He shows how the spiritual origins of things manifest in the physical world, and how the human soul, through spiritual practice, can ascend back through these planes of existence to its divine origin. He sees the entire cosmos as a unified whole, a single system where the spiritual and physical realms are not separate but interconnected, all sustained by a continuous flow of divine grace. Conclusion: the spiritual significance of Al-Fayd al-Aqdas. The doctrine of Al-Fayd al-Aqdas is more than a theoretical exercise in cosmology. It is a spiritual map for the seeker. It provides a profound understanding of the universe as a continuous, dynamic manifestation of divine consciousness. It tells us that everything in existence, from the light of the stars to the beat of our own hearts, is a divine word, a manifestation of a divine name, and a reflection of the divine essence. By meditating on Al-Fayd al-Aqdas, the spiritual aspirant is invited to move beyond the superficial reality of multiplicity and to recognize the underlying unity of all existence. This realization is the cornerstone of Sufi Gnosis Marifa. It allows the seeker to perceive the universe not as a collection of separate objects, but as a single, interconnected symphony of being, all originating from the same divine source. It fosters a deep sense of reverence for all of creation and a profound love for the Creator. The ultimate spiritual implication is that human consciousness, as a microcosm of the divine consciousness, has the potential to mirror this process of self-disclosure. Through purification of the heart and spiritual discipline, the seeker can become a locus for the divine names, a mirror that reflects the divine beauty and majesty. In this state, the individual realizes that their existence is not separate, but an integral part of the continuous sacred emanation from the divine. Thank you for joining us on this intellectual journey. We hope this exploration has provided a deeper appreciation for the intricate and beautiful cosmology that underpins Islamic spirituality.